Paul,
That was not very, come on. Give it a little. That was good. Okay.
I was.
That was good.
Yes, right. Well, now I can't hit it again. If I hit it again, then now I take it back. Okay, right, right. I'd like to call this work session to order at 5:32 of the Forest Grove School District Board of Directors meeting. And,
It's coming to me.
okay, we don't have to do roll calls.
Oh, yeah, we got to,
No, we don't.
no, we don't, not, we'll do it later.
And I'm gonna turn it right over to Superintendent Parker.
And I'm gonna actually spin this. We have some guests who are here and they're gonna be gone later when we go into the full session. So I want to turn it to Nate so he can introduce our guests and we can kind of go from there.
So I'm actually gonna turn it to them. These are our new ASB president and vice president, and they're gonna introduce themselves, and they also have something to do.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Paula. I am the president-elect for ASB next year.
Hi, everyone. I am Melina Francisco. I'm the ASB Vice President-elect for next year. We have a couple of gifts for our school board members, just to kind of show appreciation for the end of the school year.
Thank you very much. We'll have one more school board member sitting right here. Must be present. Thank you for coming and introducing yourselves. We look forward to working with you coming up next year. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Nate is already. He can tell you, hopefully you have. Uh-oh. With that said, I think we'll get going. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Today, we're gonna sit down and do some work around goal 3. And goal 3 was our goal around community engagement. And we realized that there was when we sat down with the strategic planning team, there was a set of steps we went through. There was data that we looked at. We realized not everybody's got to see that data. And so Dave and I sat down to try and we sent some kind of the full documents over the weekend. John pointed out that I sent you the climate and culture survey from 2 years ago, which is the one that we used to create the strategic plan. But we forwarded on the newest version too, because we had some challenges as we look at, when we start looking at our engagement. And in particular, there's a paradox here that we'll get to around where we're doing well and where maybe we could use some work. And so we want to kind of walk you through that process. So the first one here is from 2 years ago, the Climate and Culture Survey. It kind of highlights a couple of things here. One is these first 3 questions are all about what's the barrier to getting involved, being involved with your child's current school. And this first question, it shows that 81% of the folks, it's not a problem. I'm getting involved with the school. And this was 2 years ago. The second one is how big of a problem is it being involved with your child's current school? The school provides little information about involvement opportunities. Now it drops there, but it's still 66% of the folks are saying that's not a barrier for us. And then the last question here is how big of a problem you feel unsure about how to communicate with the school. And again, 71% of the folks are saying that that's not a problem. They know how to get a hold of those folks, which is we thought was interesting from our this year's Climate and Culture Survey. 3 other questions that came up. The first one is my student feels safe at school. 83% of the folks said that they were positive on that. That again, I thought was an interesting value from where we were last year at the high school in NAMS. I was actually kind of felt pretty good about that value. Typically in these kind of climate and cultures, we like to see those numbers over 90. I felt pretty good considering kind of the conversation that was happening last year. Next question from this year's Climate and Culture. I receive adequate communication regarding my students' academic progress. 80% of the folks are basically saying they receive enough information. The last question, the school views parents as important partners. 84% of the folks said yes. I will say, like, the total respondents on this is about 470, which isn't abnormal when we're pushing out surveys, but certainly we have 5,000 students, so there's a lot of folks whose viewpoints we aren't capturing here. Right now, this all looks fairly positive. Our next set, we've got, there are multiple opportunities for parent involvement at the school. 72% of our parents who responded are saying, yes, there's, agree or strongly agree, there's multiple opportunities. This one I thought was interesting, question 15. How do you prefer to learn about the important information from the district? Email, 88% of the respondents said that they wanted to get it in an email. Newsletter, parent view, you can see the other pieces there. But again, I thought that was, again, an interesting value for us. Do you have access to a computer or a smartphone to check email regularly? 99% of the folks who responded said that they do, which again makes me, and that's not far off of some of the other surveys we did 2 or 3 years ago when we checked in on this. They were well into the 88, 90, 92 kind of percentage for how people like to be engaged. We got another one here, just trying to get you up to speed with kind of some of the data that we're seeing. I feel I get the information I need from the district. 85% of the folks who responded feel like they're getting the information that they need. The district provides enough opportunities for parents to engage with the district and school leadership. 72%. Again, there's a little bit, there's room for growth here, but that number I thought was still surprising. It's almost a double majority. I received district messages in my preferred language. 99% of the folks who responded to this said that they get this in their preferred language. And then the last piece of data that I wanted to kind of point out for you is we did 100+ empathy interviews to get to the strategic planning piece. And these are all from different of our underserved groups. And so this was from our title parent group. This was from ELL. This was from our underserved groups. And they had some when we started talking specifically with the groups who are being underserved in our district, they had some interesting things to say. Parents, and these were all summarized from those 100 interviews that we did. Parents have experienced great communication from the schools. I think we saw that in our numbers. They praise our schools for their efforts in reaching out to all families in various variety of modalities. The presence of bilingual and bicultural personnel in our school encourages families to not only visit, but also to engage in school activities more. Some schools, I think, have more bilingual staff than others, but across our district, I think only Woodburn has a larger proportion of bilingual staff than we do. Schools do a very good job advertising their activities and events. And then here's where we heard from folks some of the areas of improvement. There's a need for diversifying communication tools and strategies so that they're more culturally responsive. Phone calls, home visits, social media announcements, and especially communication via text messages are better ways to reach out than sending emails. And then some parents believe that teachers have great communication with their children, but not enough communication with parents due to the language barriers. And so I think we got to this place, and I was trying to describe it, which is there's lots of positives here about our communication, but there's also some paradoxes, some challenges.
Yeah, so that's kind of where we want to focus our efforts on today with this amazing chart here that we have with this cool generated brick wall, meaning those are our barriers to engagement, which is what we started talking about at first when we asked parents, how big a deal is this for, that's preventing you from getting involved in your students' activities? And on the opposite side, the actual family engagement, how often are you participating in these efforts? So what's really saying is there's not a lot of barriers for families to be engaged, but they're not taking advantage of those opportunities to engage in our schools. So we want to spend some time with your brilliant brains on staying kind of on a high level of what are some of the opportunities that we can collect, investigate, and further explore, both when our new superintendent comes aboard and perhaps when we engage with our admin team at the school level. So in dealing in this this juxtaposition between these two things, we're going to go through.
Let's make sure, do you have questions about kind of the data that we presented or kind of what we're seeing there? You've seen all of it. We tried to collect it up just so that we could have this discussion, because it's a weird thing, right? Which is we have a lot of folks saying that our communication is good, and then you have some other comments that are like, well, you're not really connecting with me. Maybe I would do better if you texted it to me. Maybe I would do better if it was different. But just want to see if you have questions before we lay out our assignment today.
I had one question about the empathy interviews and who was selected for those. How did that work? And I do have a second. My second question was, how do schools, I don't know this because I'm not in that world as a parent, but, and I'm thinking more about the upper grades. Do they opt into certain types of communications at the beginning of the year, like when they do their opening paperwork around like, here's how I would like to be communicated with? What does that part look like already?
Yeah. So the empathy interviews, we've done that a couple of different ways. I think when we did the last SIA and integrated guidance, we kind of broke it up among the cabinet and have them work in teams. This last time, I think we used Oz and we used the migrant migrant advisors to kind of break up those interviews and then collected the samples. So that's how we kind of got at those groups. At the high school, you opt in a couple of different ways. By using Student View, you opt into that piece of it. There's the Parent Square. Parent Square, again, you have to kind of opt into. I don't know if they send out a, go ahead.
So I'll correct you.
Yeah, no.
Parent Square, you do not opt in. If you are in our system, you get Parent Square. What control you have over it is how you engage with Parent Square. If because you just automatically get it with your email address, you register your students, you're going to get Parent Square. But you can go in there in your profile, you can say, I want to receive an email notification of anything that goes out from the district level or the school level. And that can be if I have kids in 3 schools, I'm going to get messages from all 3 of those schools plus the district. So email, app notification, and text message. And so you have control over how you're getting those, and you can control when you get those. You can say, I only want to see a digest version of all the messages. Again, with my example, if I've got 3 kids in the district, 3 schools, they each send out 10 messages a week or a day, I'm going to get a ton of messages and they're going to be constantly pinging me on my phone. If I say I want a digest version, one time during the day, I have kind of like a Facebook news feed that I can go and read all of those messages from the district and all the schools. If we have an emergency, if there's a snow day or whatever, the district has control to go in there and say, I want to push this out immediately. And it disregards, hey, this digest version, because it's critical that you have information right now.
And then systemically, I know like Kevin in Hillsborough, they call every parent in their advisory, like across the district, or is there a piece like that district-wide where every student does have a connection made with the teacher? Or
I wouldn't say that we have that across the district.
okay,
I would actually have to ask and find out more about, I mean, the high school organizes around some advisories, but I don't know how much home calling they do. But it is the way in which they kind of connect with smaller groups of students.
okay.
And that's true now.
And those might be great ideas for our next
Yes.
assignment here, because that's exactly where we're headed into. So what we thought we would do now is kind of break you into elbow partners and sit down and do a little bit of talking about what's missing. Are there some things that we should be looking at, trying to, the other interesting thing, I thought you were gonna talk about this, Christy, but there's also parents as they move through the system, there's a different level of involvement that not only their kids want, but they want too. And we also, like, getting 100% involvement at the high school level probably is not gonna be possible. But,
They don't want. They still want.
I did have it to talk about, actually, one of those things.
but that's again, one of those things. It doesn't mean that we can't, again, try to reach out and engage folks, but there's different levels of engagement that parents are gonna want too. So what we thought we would do is kind of break into partner groups, go about 5 minutes and kind of talk through each of these bullets. The first one's kind of what's missing? How should we view this middle differently? Like between this fact that parents are not relating a lot of barriers, but yet we're still not getting a lot of engagement. So like, what are some of the things that we should look at there? And then we're gonna share out. Brad.
I'm just wondering, as you're talking, Dave, have you done kind of a comparative analysis between other school districts? I mean, is this a normal kind of response that other districts are giving? I'm just wondering if it isn't just our history of COVID and what we've gone through. So
So one of the things I think is interesting, the panorama survey, one of the reasons we like it is it's national normed. Now, once we saw the norms, we weren't sure we agreed with them. But the funny thing about that is one of the engagement questions has us at like 18%, and it has us like in the middle norm. And I was like,
I guess that's what I'm saying.
right.
So
So again, that work there, it may be to get us to 25
yeah,
instead of 18, but there are some national norms with these surveys.
One thing I just wanted to add is, as we talk about this and discuss ideas, just to kind of keep separate, because they kind of blend into each other, engagement versus communication. Communication is us pushing out information to individuals, informing them of opportunities. And engagement is when I actually go and do something and engage with the school. So they're not synonymous. So just as we discuss, we can talk about communications and ways to do that differently or better. But also, I think what we're really looking at is engagement. What are some of the things that we can look for to improve engagement with our
so
families?
engagement would be a two-way street.
Yeah.
So school engaging with parents, and parents engaging with school.
Right.
Yeah.
Building a relationship, and so at some level. But okay.
I didn't have it down here, but this is also related to attendance because of that relationship is what actually the University of Chicago, that's what their research is basically connected on, is when you create these relationships with parents and families, attendance improves. And so again, I think there's a reasoning for why we would want some of that. So we're going to break into elbow partners here and just simply around what are we missing here? What are some of the things that we can look at? What are some of the things that we want to do to improve engagement? We'll go about 5 minutes, I think, and then we'll share out. And we got 3 of them. We've got 3 rounds here, so talk fast. Go. their conversations were. Dave's got a note catcher, so we'll start grabbing some of those.
Well, Nate brought up just the idea of parents not being able to navigate all of the tech information that's coming at them. And so sometimes you call it the older folks, so not being able to use the tech stuff. And I thought that was good. And then, the other thing that we talked about was, is that all right? Let me take that.
Yes.
The other thing we talked about is, at least at the high school level, a lot of the information engagement with parents is coming from their own child. So they're Communicating with their parents and they are relaying information. Sometimes they relay the information that they want their parents to know. But in terms of the subgroups, the athletics, choir, band, all that stuff that goes on and engages parents. A lot of it is student driven, kind of communicating with their parents. And so, and I agree. I mean, I agree with that 100% because that's what happened to my family. So, yeah. I think we're good.
No, you can cover it.
Go ahead.
What we were talking about is, how do we make that one-on-one connection with parents? Is that a phone call, an advisor, some teacher reaching out that they have that one staff member, and making sure also with that first call, that first communication is a positive one, not negative, just kind of opening up that receptive pathway with others. And then the next question was, which I thought was really, really good, is asking parents, what level do you want to be involved in? Because that varies throughout, it was for us, from elementary school, Tom McCall, middle school, and as high school principal. It tapered off even for me, as a parent with one boy going through.
Well, and I would think too that parents define engagement differently. So David was talking about actually engaging maybe with the school. For me as a parent, I felt very engaged because I always had a person along Henry's journey that I felt I could call that knew me. Now, was that necessarily his teacher or was it someone in Kim's department? But I felt very comfortable that I could call someone on the phone and someone would talk to me like a real person. That to me, I felt very connected. And then beyond that, I mean, so that what parents define as engaging, I think is different, and asking, just like we do with kids in that survey, do you have an adult in your school that you connect with? Do we ever ask that to parents specifically, like at the beginning of the year? Do you have an adult at this school that you feel like you could call? And sometimes it's not their teacher, and sometimes they don't yet. And then you can kind of identify in that survey. Because with the empathy interviews, it's hard to go back to the people that maybe you wish you could go back to that people in the survey somehow and say, tell me more.
Yeah.
But so that piece, and then the PTO, the strength of the potential with the PTO groups. And I asked Kathy, where do we have very active, engaged PTOs? And as a system, can we grow that? Do those PTO leaders meet together and talk about what they think engagement looks like and could be? And if PTOs trying to develop at Tom McCall and NAMS, are their parents, that model, I think we need help. And these PTOs are doing it well in some cases in growing that. So can we partner with that a little bit more specifically?
I've got a little something to talk about after this, that I'll come back to that topic, not specifically PTOs, but I'll come back to it.
Well, I think, what I was looking at is, I've talked to the teachers about parents being in the classroom. Connie Potter used to do a volunteer, orientation for parents. And a number of teachers have said to me, I just can't have a body in here. They have to have some skill sets. They need some training on the expectations about, what's acceptable behavior, what the expectation is. And it's done in a respectful manner. But we need to, I think, ask the teachers, do you want volunteers in the classroom? And if so, what would that look like? And then asking parents, would you like to volunteer, for reading, for math, for whatever, not just Xerox and things. And so I think that there has to be, it's a different kind of engagement. I mean, there's sports and activities like at the high school, but at the elementary level, that's where a lot of parents get involved with PTO and that, but it's very low, and the teachers have said, it's more work for us if they come in and they don't know what to do. And we don't really have the time to train them. So, and that's what Connie Potter did. She had, volunteer orientation groups, and also the teachers would feed her what they wanted, what they needed, and then she worked with them, and that's a long time ago, but it was effective. Did you have something else you wanted to share?
We talked briefly just about, what's a vision for what the district values, school partnerships, and what's the broader, and then how do we work towards it, right? So do parents even know that we want them, right? And so just kind of clarifying the vision a little bit.
We talked a little bit about, I was reflecting with Dave on the behavioral health and wellness team designed a series of parent education courses called the We Care Deeply series. I don't know if you remember seeing that advertised. And so they did things like CPS, QPR, which is suicide prevention. They do the PACS tools for parents. And I mean, we did a major push, like David and I and the rest of our team did a major push for communication. We have a ton of parents sign up. It's just the amount of people that actually come in and attend is like, I mean, sometimes we were getting 2 people, 5 people, and we were providing food and childcare and really good content that I think parents want. And I don't know if it's that they sign up so early and we're doing reminder calls and all those things, but the outcome, just the amount of work that we're putting in to this great content and the outcome just doesn't match. So it's hard to sustain something like that. But I think there's a need for it. It's just trying to figure out, like, how do we do that better, right? Because I don't know if any of you have attended those trainings, but even on the teacher side, I mean, they're very valuable. And when parents do show up and they fill out their exit slips, they say how great it was. And I think the biggest response we got was the PACS tools for parents of children who experience disability. And that got a lot of support. And then another thing that we talked about is my team oversees the attendance in the district, attendance team. And so we have a district level attendance team that has school representatives, some folks from their attendance teams, and we did a lot of analysis on what works, what doesn't work, what do they think are great interventions, and really looked at that idea of home visits. And what we found that the home visits that really work to improve attendance are the ones where someone that has a connection with that student is actually doing the home visit. And oftentimes we're kind of subcontracting, for a lack of a better term, but asking like our liaison to do that, who doesn't have a relationship with the family, right? And so trying to find ways to bring that back to the building level where those connections are made. And then we have some teachers that make phone calls to parents when kids aren't attending, but that's not necessarily an expectation. But we know that it has more of an impact when the students feel like they belong, and they're more likely to attend when they feel like they belong. And that belonging really starts with the teaching relationship. So we talked a little bit about how can we re-engage that and make that kind of something that we do more of. Did I miss anything?
No, you did good. Again, when she brought up the We Care Deeply series, I was again reminded that we've got some engagement pieces out there. We just haven't unlocked the puzzle yet of how to get more participation in some of the work that we're doing. I mean, there's some interesting questions here. Again, I like this idea of the folks who have the relationships with the families need to be the ones doing the communicating, and we haven't systematized that across the district. There are places where that's happening, but especially at the high school where we have bigger teams and everything, it's definitely not. So I don't know, that's another place for us to kind of think about and figure out where to go.
Because one of the things, we did with that little pilot at Glencoe is we actually did the home visits, but I was telling John, some of those kids and parents that weren't feeling connected, we actually intentionally connected them with a math teacher, and the math teacher was the one that went with us to the home visit, right? So it was about really, I mean, being intentional about who it was. We needed those kids to feel success in a particular class, and we know for freshmen, that's a key piece. And yes, it was, it's a little labor intensive, but it comes back to maybe what we're willing to put down. I mean, it's not just our system, it's the Coffee with the Cop is a perfect example. We do Coffee with the Cop for 2 years in the city, and the same 7 people come to Coffee with the Cop, right? But what Henry's great about is they're going out now. They still have the Coffee with the Cop because there are people and that's kind of low prep. But our question was like, do we maybe pause Coffee with the Cop, right? And then put the energy towards something different to see, because you do hear the time. And I just went to the counseling. They just did the mental health for parents, and I went to that, and there were 10 parents, I think, in that. It was last week. It was excellent. I listened on Zoom right in the car because that was when but I've done the same thing. I've signed up because like I feel like I really want to go, but then life. So it does sort of become like, but some of those things be packaged and put down for a minute, and then we have some energy to put towards a different.
So you zoomed in though, right?
I
Watched it
zoomed
Zoom?
in.
Well, you were participating, yeah.
Well, I did, but there were 10, and I thought, oh, these counselors, all of them were there. Bon was there, and they did an hour and a half Q&A, and I'm thinking to myself, they've just worked all day, and now they're with 10 parents. And for the 10 of us, it was a fentanyl thing.
Yeah.
It was great, but I thought, I mean, I felt very, I've got the full attention of these people, but now I know them. But yeah, I don't know. I was like, that's a lot of time that they spent for.
Yeah. That's when the discussion of behavioral health and wellness is that, when I was talking to Cassie about this, the amount of stuff that goes into it and the outcome we had this year, we're putting a pause on it for next year, trying to find other ways to do that work. And I'm the same way. I mean, I sign up for a webinar and I'm just like, oh, by the time I get to it, I don't want to do it.
But I don't know if you want do we want the webinar as much as I want, I don't know. Yes, I did want the information, but I think you really want the connection. So
I think you want both.
yeah,
I think you want both. What about doing videos where, like you tape a session like that, and then parents just can tap into it at their convenience? Because, a lot of times parents get home from work, they got dinner, and then they got to figure out, they're exhausted, but the information they want, it's like what's happening on the school board now. I mean, we have more people viewing the school board, but they're doing it at their time. They can just,
Yeah.
but the problem is that, can you determine if people are using, tapping into it or not?
I think another challenge we face is we're trying to make our professional learning for staff and parents more interactive and engaging. And that's really, so a lot of the stuff we do, at least in the behavioral health and wellness side, doesn't lend itself to just watching a tape, because there is Q&A, and sometimes it's very sensitive, sensitive topics that you want somebody there that has that professional expertise. But yeah, I mean, finding alternate ways for people to get the content and just trying to figure out how that would work for everybody.
Karen and I were playing pickleball summer over at Rogers Park. And we would normally play, there was hardly anybody there. The chief had dinner with the chief.
the barbecue.
Holy cow, he had a couple hundred. And I said to him afterwards, what in the world? How did you get this? And he said, it took a few times, but that's what it worked up to. And it was just in time interaction with officers stationed around while people were waiting after they got their food and having that interaction. We couldn't believe the turnout.
How they pay for it?
I'm not sure. I don't know, but I was floored at how many people. So was Karen. Have you seen it?
I haven't seen that for a big before.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna move us because actually it feels like the second question is really around, what questions do we need to ask families about how they want to be engaged? Last one's kind of like, what do we want to kind of set Dr. West, the cabinet on moving forward? But I think what'll be more interesting right now is to actually know what are some of the things that have to happen next year. And then I think we can come back, because I think we're right at this place where we're sitting there trying to figure out what's effective and what's not. Food, the parent advisory is always that's a good thing. So let's move to the next couple slides here and then we'll come back.
Yeah, so the things that will have to happen, that are, we, Dave and I and others went out to do the original engagement with both the strategic plan and integrated guidance. We're gonna have to revisit that so we can go back out, we do a presentation on this is what we're doing with this money. How do you feel? What do we need to change with your, from your point of view? So that's required by the state for us to do that. So we will be going out. Now with a new superintendent, we'll be probably combining that and doing 2 for 1, introducing the new superintendent and engaging in some of these conversations. So that is something that's going to happen throughout next year. And I don't know, we could potentially, you don't want to overload that meeting so that you're getting 8 questions in, or so we want to focus on some of these things. So, but potentially we could do a survey or ask them, how do you want in the future? How do you want to engage? So we have that opportunity. The other opportunity is one that is Senate Bill 732.
Before you go there though, again, we'll have to go out and do empathy interviews. Again, would be my suggestion here. You're gonna have to meet with all of the staffs, all of the parent groups and we have to create a new SIA plan, but now it's integrated guidance. So it'll have the early literacy, it'll have high school success, it'll have student investment account. So all of that work has to happen September through November, December, and then we got to be building a plan and you need to be approving it sometime April, May, June. And so like this whole thing, it happens every 2 years. So this is an opportunity for us to go out and engage with everyone. And Brad, I think you were going to say something.
Saw that.
Oh, yeah.
That's pretty good. At least in the engagement process to begin with a kind of what the district sees as their vision for engagement. Maybe be clear along the lines of what Arturo was talking about. Just create a vision for parents and those meetings, but this is where we'd like to be. And we need your help to get here. And in our mind, we're thinking, if we get here, we're successful. So what is it, and when we're successful, what does it look like?
Yeah.
So we're real clear about where we're going, so there's no spinning, you know what I mean? Spinning in circles when you get to a meeting like that. You as the leader create the vision about where we think we need to be and what it looks like.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Well, to be honest, goal 1 and goal 2, I think we have really clear visions.
Okay, so then the next step would be to create a baseline of where we are. This is where we were, where we are right now. This is where we want to be.
Goal 3, I don't think we have a really clear vision right now. So I mean, I think this is something for us to work on.
Yeah. I mean, moving into a meeting like that without a vision, you know how that goes.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
So.
And then Dave was talking about Senate Bill 732, so I wanted to make sure that we talked about that because that's gonna happen. What this is, there you go. So this was passed actually 2 years ago. I think it was 2021, it might have been 3 years ago. And the larger districts have already had to implement. Basically, it's state law that you have to create an educational equity advisory committee. This is a board subcommittee. It doesn't have any board members on it.
Sweet.
Their job is to advise the school board and superintendent about equity impacts and policy decisions. So like, how are kids doing? What are ways that we could improve? It informs the board and the superintendent of experiences of underserved groups. So the primary membership of this should be parents and students from the underserved groups. The kind of highlight school-specific situations, both positive and negative. And then they consult with the school board around one of the members on this has to be on the budget committee too. This must be implemented by September of 2025. And what I can tell you is this, there's a group in our equity team, we broke off into committees. There's a committee called the Board and Policy Committee that's been working on this. So we've met now with the ESD. We've met with Hillsborough's equity director. Hillsborough's already implemented. They're in the end of their second year. And so hearing from them talk about their experience, it's taken them 2 years to kind of get organized. They haven't reported back to the board yet, but this will be the first year where they're going to do that. So in June, they'll be coming back to talk about it. Hillsborough has other parent advisory groups. So there is a very similar to what we have, a title parent advisory. They have a very good one that's very active. Ours is, last time I was there were probably 200 people there. It's well attended, and Hillsborough also has 3 or 4 other kind of parent advisory groups that kind of are out there, they're meeting, they're talking. And this committee, this district educational equity advisory committee gathers information from those parent advisories. And that's what they're using to kind of report up to the board. It isn't that this committee is giving you advice on policies that we're passing. It's more about kind of what is the parent and student experience like in the district and making sure the board hears that. So this is coming next year too. We've got a group working on it. The good news is Dr. West has already implemented in Salem. So I spent some time talking to her. Her experience is really similar too. They're in their year 2. They have not yet reported to the board yet, but it's taken a while to kind of get organized and figure out what the work is and how they do it. But having her coming in, having already been through this, I think is a big plus moving forward. One more click there, just some last information about it. It's composed of parents, employees, students, and community members. Existing community connections and resources, our title parent advisory is already there. We don't have to create something new for them to be able to get information. And it needs to be primarily representative of our underserved groups. So this is another thing that will happen next year. And so just giving you some thinking about like what we know is going to happen. Then the last thing, I think second and third questions that we had were really around. So as we move into this, what I heard from Brad just a second ago is that we should be pushing hard for what our vision is for engagement so that we can communicate that. What are the other things that we should be thinking about or working on right now as far as developing, improving our engagement? You want a chance to turn and talk? You want to just go?
You could just go. I was gonna add that I agree with the developing of the vision, but I think some of that will come from when Dave is talking about as we go out into the community. I think we need help from parents to define what they see as engagement. I mean, we have a vision of what we see, but where does, I guess it's
I
kind of,
guess I wasn't talking about the what, it's more about what picture is of a successful district with strong engagement, not what they want. It's really about what it looks like if parents and the district feels good about the communication and the engagement of parents. So 2 different things.
but I think some of what that will be what parents say, like if we ask parents, what would your vision be for?
Yeah, and I don't think a vision is static.
Right,
I think
okay,
it evolves.
yeah,
And you have to start with something, and then as you get the feedback, then it evolves into what everybody feels comfortable with in terms of where we're going.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion.
Yeah, no, that's why we're asking right now is that again, this is an area that can use work from us. And so trying to get it rolling is kind of important.
Well, one of the things I think about, we did this at Patterson, it was the goal that every teacher, whether you're special ed or regular, that at the beginning of the school year, you contacted every parent and said something positive. And what I did is I made home visits to every student that was on my caseload. And that was really good because they had a face, they had someone. And if you start out, especially at the elementary level, you start out with a positive. You learn a little bit about the parents and what they're interested in, and then if they feel connected with the teacher and the classroom, then they may become more involved. But I think if you start that out like at kinder, I think it just builds on itself, and it wanes at middle school and high school. It's
I
different.
did it in Chem. I mean, I called every parent in the first week. Just to
Yeah.
connect, make sure they knew a voice, and I knew at some point if I'm making a call that's not positive, I wanted to at least have some relationship. So I think it's fair.
One of the things that I found out though is when I went to drive to, there was one student who lived beyond 185th in Patterson.
Yeah.
And I came back to the principal and I said, so where's the boundaries? And then I thought, I'm not gonna ask anymore. I'll just go to these parents and let someone else be the.
That's one of the things that, we're working with our high school staff on, when we look at attendance rates for kids that receive services, that's a part of case management, is contacting families, right? And I used to do that when I was a special ed teacher. It was just a thing you did every year. You contact them, hey, introduce yourself, go on a home visit. And I feel like we've gone kind of the other direction. And we're fortunate because our caseloads are manageable here and gonna be more manageable next year. So I feel like it's an opportunity for us to do those things, kind of go back to the way we used to do things.
It was effective. I think it was really effective. I think that the issues that you had, the child that has a disability, but if you start out on a positive note, you can look through things, then just picking up the phone and saying, well, your kid just threw the chair through the window.
Yeah. Relationships matter, and that's really the piece that you gotta hang our hat on.
Dave, I think the other thing, going back to something that Brad said about post-COVID, I think there is a lot of new research post-COVID around, what are research-based best practices around engaging family post-COVID with the SAL component in mind. And I think that'd be a healthy process for us to, University of Chicago does have some more recent stuff. It may have frameworks that we can think about to help reimagine it. So thinking about the research-based practices and making sure that we're rooted in it.
I think Arturo just sent me some of those a couple of days ago, so they're sitting on my reading pile. So yeah, I think that's really smart. So. Okay, I think we've got some ideas, and I think we're ready to kind of go. And I think now you bang your gavel again, and we'll transition to the next one.
Done.
Oh my God. Good job.
Oh, okay.
Thanks, Dave.
She was on the piece.
Certainly. Put our heads together.
Yeah, yes.
Oh,
That's
Okay, I'm calling this meeting to order at 6:31, the May 28th, 2024 Forest Grove School District Board of Directors meeting is officially called to order, and we will do a roll call. Board members present. Kate? I'm here. Brad?
I'm here.
I am here. Todd Nate? Here. And Val and Mark are both absent this evening. And we will do flexing. And pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, introductions tonight, it is just a small group. But for tonight's introductions, I'm gonna ask if people share, start up here with me. Their either favorite job ever, or worst job ever, or past.
Well, I've had so many jobs. I guess I'll say my favorite future job that I will be doing over the summer is an administrative intern for the city of Hillsborough. I don't really know what I'm gonna be doing, but it'll be really fun, so.
My favorite job was in Northern New Mexico. We Girl Scout camp for the summer. With a bunch of girls. And there's a lot of up in the wilderness.
well, my favorite job was teaching in the Portsmouth School District. So,
I was gonna say, of course, outside of this favorite job.
too late.
Okay, all right. My favorite job was driving a tractor and hauling cucumbers, pickles to Nally's in Mount Vernon, Washington in the summers.
Dave Parker, superintendent. I like teaching chemistry. That was a great job. Then I became an administrator. All downhill.
Yeah. Became a little different.
Had another new chapter in there.
That's good.
Debs?
I'm Nate's mom. I guess my. He does it all himself. It's not even, I think my favorite job was working as a CNA and talking to all the elderly people that used to live here, like back when the sidewalks were boards.
Yeah.
And so just getting that story from them was like amazing. And working with Kristen at Starbucks.
That was fun.
Enrique Pinion, Technology Department and Soccer Camp Counselor.
What's your favorite job?
And community members who just came in, we're introducing ourselves and then favorite job or worst job ever. I was thinking all the way back to younger days, but.
Okay, is it my turn?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, sorry. Okay, you were looking at me. Amy Wexler, hi, nice to meet you. I'm the state co-lead for Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense in Oregon. And I actually say, I think my very first job, I had to be up at 5 a.m. and I was a waitress at a little diner. And my mom had to drop me off there. I was like, 15 years old and drop me off there. And I guess, so she had to get up that early too. And I'm not a morning person. So that was my worst job.
I'm Judy Tannehill. I'm with Moms Demand Action Group in Fort Dallas. The worst part of my job in teaching was being cheerleader sponsor. And cheerleader moms. It wasn't the girls, it was the moms.
Lisa Bassatina, parent, and my favorite job's been being mom.
I'm Amber Herder. My least favorite job was probably customer service in college. It's just a brutal gig. My favorite job would be what I do now, which is the health aide at Tomahawk Elementary School.
That's John O'Neill, Assistant Superintendent, and my least favorite job was cleaning out the grease trap of Kentucky Fried Chicken. Yeah, that was not pretty. And my favorite job, probably high school principal at Forest Grove School District.
David Warner Communications, obviously this one's my favorite job. Outside of that, probably working at a snack bar. I think I got paid in all the Snickers I ate. So that was pretty good. If you freeze them, they're even better.
Arturo Lomelí, Director of Teaching and Learning, favorite job? It was a principal, no doubt about it.
Chair, Director of Student Services. I don't think I had a job I really hated. I think all of them really helped me grow and I had fun at every one of them. I think my favorite one is the one I'm doing now, but also when I was a coordinator. So I can always pass the buck to Brad.
Somebody had to carry me.
All right, thank you, everybody. We're gonna approve tonight's agenda.
I move we approve tonight's agenda.
A second.
All in favor? Aye. And correspondence or celebrations? Mine's been count too.
Honestly, none of them work.
No. Mine's not, but that's okay. I was, well, any celebrations, correspondence? I'm not good. Okay, I did want to share that I did have a chance to attend the Lost in the Circus play that was put on at Forest Grove High School. It was wonderful and surprising, and I learned that the director actually wrote the script for this as well, and it's just a wonderful celebration of students of all levels and abilities that ended with a musical song, and the audience was really into it. And afterwards, the cast came down and sat on the stage and took Q&A from the audience, and just a really great night. And also, once again, when I attend these things, really appreciate the assistant principals and admin who are at the school, you know, enabling that to happen, and the parents who work at the swag booth, and everybody that comes together in our communities to make those events happen. So it was really inspiring. And student representative report, Nate.
Hello, everyone. So this evening, before I got into all my boring announcements and stuff like that, I wanted to commemorate someone and all of ASB as well. And I haven't actually told them this, so I'm going to put them on the spot. But I would actually like to commemorate Kathy Bonson, our secretary, because recently, for one, we had administrative intern or administrative assistant day, and other excuses. But we wanted to commemorate you for working with us for so long, putting up with all of us and everything that is here. So everyone in ASB wrote you a card, and we put together a gift basket as well as another gift basket with some more stuff and some stuff for you to go through. So, of course, yeah. So hats off to her. She makes all this work for us, puts the batteries in our. So it's very important. Besides that, though, I have some announcements about what's going on in high school. So Period Club recently had their popsicle fundraiser. It was a very, very popular fundraiser. We're not sure how much money they've made yet, but all the money will be going to providing menstrual products to people who cannot afford them, which is a great cause. Also, Peer Mediators is starting up again. They're planning on doing more trainings and helping find students that are willing to be peer mediators, which is very exciting. Our orchestra actually placed at state, which is not very common, and that was really amazing to see. So everyone there was really great, and they had a really great time, so I'm really happy about that. Recently, due to the gym being flooded, we had a virtual assembly, so I want to have a big shout out to Abby Brown, who coordinated an entire slideshow assembly pretty much over the course of like 2 days that had every single athlete at Forest Grove High School that was being recognized. And it was a massive, massive amount of work that she put into it, and it was really great. So big shout out to her, and the assembly was pretty great, even though it was virtual, everyone loved it. Unified lunches are starting back up again. The Unified team has done so much this year. And one of the things is having unified lunches where they have pizza and fun games, and everyone gets to come together and talk to some people that they might not have talked to before, and just make connections, which is really great. Communicare. So I recently attended a Communicare award show dinner type thing. Communicare is a program at our school where we work with, we fundraise for nonprofits and make grants that then go to nonprofits in our area that we choose. And this year we raised $12,000 for 2 nonprofits in our area called OKU and PAIR, but it's not spelled as PAIR, it's like P:/EAR. And both of them have to do with in our Portland metro area, providing students with outlets for creativity and students that are impoverished have access to school supplies and stuff like that. And that was $12,000, so that's a lot of money, probably more money than I'll ever see. And it was very cool. It was really great to be a part of that, and they were very thankful, and it was awesome. Besides that, Senior Sunset, that will be happening this Friday. The grad night team has been doing so much to make sure that the event is a success. And speaking of grad night has been doing a lot of stuff, and grad night is coming up on well after graduation. So if you know anyone that is a senior, or if you have a child that's going to be a senior, please ask them to get a grad night ticket. They've done so much work, they have raised so much money, and it's going to be really awesome this year. I'm really excited for it, and they've just done a lot. And speaking of graduation, graduation is coming up on the 8th. Wow, so exciting. I'm a little bit sad, but you know what? It'll be fine. And if you are coming to graduation, some of our board members will be speaking there. But also at the very end, I will be talking, and I'll do the thing where it's like, look, I still don't know what it's called. I just found out today, so. Yeah, so no pressure. And then also, I have so much more. It's like 3 things, it's fine. So DECA is having a sleepover, not sleepover. Also on Friday, that is for any juniors, seniors, or not seniors, juniors, sophomores, and freshmen. It's kind of like how back in the olden times, when they were having sleepovers or lock-ins and stuff like that, kind of bringing back that energy and giving the students a similar feeling, but for DECA, which is a club that is really cool, and they take kids to California, which I did, and it was really awesome. And then finally, I finally finished all of my work on the community clothing closet, which is located in the Forest Grove High School library. It is over, if you just walk in and turn right or walk in and turn left, it'll be there. It's hard to miss. So if you would like to donate any clothes, or if you know anyone who would like to donate any clothes, please feel free to reach out. You can talk to me after the meeting, but we would really love to get some more clothing donations. It's been pretty popular so far, and any support would be very nice, and we're very happy to see it. That is all I have, so thank you guys so much, and have a good rest of your night.
How do you follow that?
He's a special person, and his mom is here today, and I was complimenting her earlier as just a mom being able to watch her son grow up and sit up on the dais. But I have to say that the energy that you bring every single meeting and the impact that you've already had, you're gonna get his autograph tonight, because somewhere in the future, we're gonna see Nate somewhere, and we're all gonna say, remember when that guy was out on the single dais? So you've just really been a really positive, great communicator and a great advocate for your high school community. So outstanding. Yeah. Okay, can you just go to superintendent report?
Yes, we can.
Yes, let's go.
I'm not sure I want to follow me, but couple of things. 13 days left of school. It's kind of hard to believe, but we are here. And the next 13 days are going to be a sprint. They'd already mentioned it for the board. June 6th, the spotlight on success at 5:30. We'll get to see all of the kids and their awards and everything else. So that's coming up. The 8th at 10 a.m. at the high school. Be there a little bit earlier. The parking's always, I think we get kind of tickets into the back, but that's always a little bit of a mess. And then I wanted to announce today, a little bit earlier today, we announced the hiring of a new principal at Harvey Clark. And so we hired Laura Christensen as the new principal. She's been the principal at Gaston Elementary for the last 4 years, since 2020. She started in the middle of the pandemic, which has got to be a little bit of it only gets easier from there. Before that time, she was a behavior coach and a 4th grade elementary school teacher in Gaston. And then she also served as a 3rd grade teacher at the Gresham Arthur Academy and Gresham Barlow School District. So I want to congratulate her. She has tons of energy, really excited to bring her into the district, and just the way she's going to collaborate with our other folks is going to be very good. So again, want to congratulate Laura Christensen. And that's it for tonight. I don't want to follow me.
All right, well, welcome to Laura, and I don't think we have a report from FGEA tonight. Just making sure we don't.
Yeah.
Okay, that's correct. So number 9, unscheduled public appearance. We did receive, do I need to read each time? It's the whole yellow every time. Okay, all right. The board appreciates comments from our community, sharing information during public comments. People living outside of the Forest Grove School District are welcome to email their comments to the board directly. Public comments will be made in person or submitted through the designated form on the webpage to be read by district staff or registered Zoom participants who indicated through the form they wanted to provide their comment live. Public comments will be limited to 3 minutes, as is the protocol for board meetings. Public criticism or complaints about the school district personnel are not allowed at this time. The board, in the previous week, did receive a copy in support of adoption of the KGBB policy, which we'll be talking about later. And since then, Kathy, have we received any additional?
One, but it's during that, David will read it when you get to that.
Okay, so
agenda item.
we have one additional comment that we will read during the agenda item coming up. All right. The consent agenda is made up of routine, non-controversial items to be voted on under one motion. Are there any items within the consent agenda a board member or the superintendent wishes to discuss separately? And so do I need a motion?
Yeah, I'll move that we adopt. The board did we talk about the board minutes?
Just say consent agenda.
Oh, the consent agenda as proposed.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. And action items?
Action items. HVAC, in your packet, in November, we had a similar thing came up where we purchased the air conditioning equipment for Tomahawk East, West, and Fern Hill. That was done in November because of lead times. What's coming in front of you today is the money that we need to install this equipment. It's all set to go. You'll see the amounts down there. This is all being paid for with ESSER. I believe is the expiration of ESSER 3 funds this summer. So labor installation costs are quoted below. And it's a co-op. It's on the cooperative agreement that they're using to purchase this.
Any questions on it?
I'll make a motion to approve the purchase agreements for the AC installation at Tom McCall, TNC, I guess East and West and Fern Hill for $760,220 and to be funded with ESSER 3 and or bond funds.
Second.
And Kathy, do we need to do a roll call or can I just say all in favor since there's?
You can do that.
Okay, all right. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion passes.
I will say that, again, this moves us much closer to getting to the place where every classroom in the district will be air conditioned. So we're continuing to move on that.
Well, it's certainly good with, climate change.
Yeah.
All right, so we are up to school support fee enterprise zone.
So last time around, Eileen presented this. This is a House Bill 2009 that was passed in the 2023 legislative session. And what this does is in the enterprise zone that both Forest Grove and Cornelius have, if they sell property, they're released from taxes for a period of time. The change in this law is that now we can recoup some of that tax money in year 4 and year 5. And we have to pass, the minimum is 15%, the maximum is 30. For us, the problem is we don't actually, this does not get us any extra money. So the money that we receive from this will actually have to pay back through the state school fund. But the minimum that we can set is 15%. So we're here today, both City Forest Grove and Cornelius run these enterprise zones. We do have to take action on it. It seems kind of silly, but it is where we're at.
Any questions?
So I'll move we approve resolution 23-24 R07 school support free enterprise zone as presented.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, panorama contract.
This is an easy one for you. Bringing forth the proposal to renew our annual contract of $64,750 for Panorama. Panorama serves two main purposes for us. First, it's our early warning system that provides us data around attendance, social, emotional learning, as well as academics. And so that's been in development for the last few years. And second, it provides a survey. It's where we do our surveys. It's our internal surveys, allows us to perform that across our system. And so we are looking for your approval, due that it is above our $50,000 earmark in order to move forward with Panorama for next year.
Questions?
What was the cost again?
$64,750.
I move that the board approve the Panorama as the district platform for MTSS through June 30th, 2026.
All in favor?
Aye.
And number 4, policy KGBB.
Policy KGBB. It's a new policy that's been proposed for adoption and approved by the board. The policy would prohibit persons with concealed handgun licenses from bringing guns onto district property or into our schools. The policy provides that a firearm may be on school grounds if it's unloaded and locked in the motor vehicle. Again, this is part of the state law. We can't change it. That's why we got into this back and forth for a while, but that is written into the state law. But for the most part, this would prohibit anyone except our police from carrying. KGB already prohibits people from possessing a weapon on district property at all. Policy JFCJ does this for students. It prohibits students from carrying a weapon. This policy would eliminate the loophole that persons with concealed carry permit could bring a concealed weapon onto our campus. The administration recommends that you pass this policy.
All right, and the board did receive a letter via email, a letter of support for the approval of this policy from the Oregon chapter of Moms Demand Action, and there are several members in the audience tonight. And then David Warner, our communications director, is here to read a second communications that we received recently.
Okay. As an FG resident and grandmother of 2 young boys, I am very concerned about the possibility of the FG school board considering allowing concealed weapons or weapons of any kind on school properties in FG. Studies have consistently shown that the presence of guns in schools does not make children and teachers safer, and in fact puts them at greater risk. Oregon SB 554 allows schools to prohibit firearms on school properties, even with a concealed handgun permit. Oregon is only one of 8 states nationwide that still allows concealed weapons on school grounds, potentially very dangerous and concerning. I urge the school board to vote no on allowing any firearms on school property, and to also increase efforts to educate parents on their responsibilities around owning and securing firearms in the home. By prohibiting firearms on school properties, you are helping to keep the school community safer for students, teachers, and staff. Thank you. Obviously, this sounds like they are in favor of what you're passing, but just slightly misunderstood.
David, can you read the name?
Susan Greathouse. Thank you.
All right, discussion.
I move that we approve policy KGBB as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Okay, John, sorry.
Oh, you did.
Oh,
John, you're up.
yeah, John's up. All right, number 5, confidential supervisory contract agreement. John, on the.
Excellent. Good evening. As promised, last board meeting, we are bringing to you the confidential supervisory agreement for the 3rd year of our contract, which is in alignment with our license and administrators, which is a salary increase of 5% and insurance cap increase for $10 per month. And attached for your reference is a 24-25 salary schedule. The district administration asks for approval.
Questions?
So I'll move to approve changes to the confidential supervisory agreement as presented.
Second. All in favor?
Aye. Thank you. And we have one more group. We've had 2 meetings with OSCA classified staff, and we hope to wrap that up and bring that to you soon.
Thank you, John.
Network switch purchase bond.
So this is another bond purchase approval request. So as part of one of the bond projects to help support the increased security devices and other security bond projects and classroom improvements, we are needing to upgrade the existing switching equipment at all the schools in the district. So that's what this proposal is coming forward with. We sought bids through the E-rate program through an FCC Form 470. And we received bids from SHI, GCI, CMS, BitDirect, and also CBE Technologies. The bid that was selected to be in the best interest of the district was from CBE Technologies. So our request and recommendation of the board is to approve the purchase of the Cisco Catalyst switches from CBE Technologies, utilizing bond funds for the total cost of $600,919.68 through the E-rate program.
Questions from Ricky? No. I move that we approve the purchase of the Cisco Catalyst switches from CVE Technologies, utilizing bond funds for a total cost of $600,909.68.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you, Enrique. And also Enrique, Microsoft licensing renewal.
So each year we have to update or renew our licensing with Microsoft. So the action item before you is to seek approval for the renewal of our Microsoft licensing through the OETC. They already have a competitive contract on file through an RFP that they do, so we're just purchasing underneath that contract. So our recommendation is for the district and the board to please approve the purchase of the Microsoft licensing renewal from the OETC for the 24-25 school year.
Questions?
I move that we support the purchase of the Microsoft licensing renewal for 2024-25 school year from the OETC.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Look at this.
Yeah.
7 o'clock. Future board items for discussion.
So June 10th, we're moving the work session to June 10th. And we're looking at bringing in the calendars to kind of look at the dates with which next year's board meetings, some different proposals to talk that through. But that's kind of the work session. We're going to move it on June 10th. That works for everybody. Okay.
Yeah. I hope so.
It's summertime. It's a little hard.
Okay.
All right. Anything else?
Wow. That was a fast meeting.
About time you resume.
Okay. Wait a second. Oh, 7 o'clock on the nose, just for Arturo. That's perfect, yeah.
All right.
We're not